forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, April 18th, 2025. I need to document this somewhere. Maybe typing it out will convince me I'm not losing my mind. Maybe someone here has experienced something similar. I've read paranormal forums for years, but I never thought I'd be posting my own story. 3 weeks ago, I moved into the Obsidian Heights apartment complex downtown. One of those ultra-modern smart living buildings where everything connects to their proprietary app. Lights, thermostat, security, even the refrigerator. The rent is steep, but as a freelance graphic designer working from home, I justified the expense. The building advertised fiber optic internet and intelligent living spaces designed for creative professionals. Plus, after my breakup with Alex, I needed a fresh start. The first week was normal. Settling in, arranging furniture, setting up my workspace near the window that overlooks the city. The apartment is beautiful. All sleek surfaces, minimalist design, with these massive mirrors that make the space feel larger. The bathroom mirror spans an entire wall, and the bedroom has a full-length mirror beside the closet. The living room features a decorative mirror with a geometric black frame. Reflective surfaces everywhere, designed to amplify the natural light. The trouble started 8 days ago. I was working late on a deadline project around 2 a.m. I got up to make coffee, shuffling through the dark apartment rather than turning on lights and disrupting my night vision. As I passed the living room mirror, I caught a glimpse of movement, just a shadow shifting in the reflection. I assumed it was just my own reflection, but something felt wrong. The movement didn't match mine. It continued for a split second after I stopped, like an echo but visual. I dismissed it as sleep deprivation and went back to work. 2 nights later, I woke up needing to use the bathroom. Half asleep, I stumbled there and flicked on the light. In that brief moment between darkness and illumination, I swear I saw someone already standing in front of the mirror. My reflection was there before I was. By the time the light fully came on, everything looked normal. My reflection moved when I moved, blinked when I blinked. But I couldn't shake the feeling that for just an instant, it had been waiting for me. The next day, I was brushing my teeth, leaning close to the bathroom mirror to check if I'd missed a spot. I noticed something odd about my reflection's eyes. They seemed eager. It's hard to describe. Like they were studying me with an intensity that didn't match my casual morning routine. When I pulled back, startled, my reflection did too, perfectly synchronized again. I tried to laugh it off. Told myself I was being paranoid. But then the smart lock incident happened. My bathroom door has an electronic lock, a feature I found unnecessary but came standard with the apartment. It's controlled through the Obsidian Heights app and normally stays unlocked unless manually set otherwise. Yesterday morning, I tried to enter the bathroom, but the handle wouldn't turn. The small digital display above the handle flashed red with white text, "Access denied." I checked my phone, thinking maybe I'd accidentally locked it through the app. The app showed the bathroom door was unlocked. I tried again. "Access denied." I restarted my phone, force-closed the app, tried again. Nothing. Starting to feel ridiculous, locked out of my own bathroom. I was about to call building maintenance when the lock suddenly clicked open on its own. The display turned green. Access granted. When I pushed the door open, I saw the bathroom window was open about an inch. I never leave it open. I'm 30 floors up, and the wind makes an eerie whistling noise. The bathroom mirror was fogged, like someone had taken a hot shower. But the bathtub was dry. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking I heard movements in my apartment, subtle sounds like someone trying to be quiet. Around 3 a.m., I got up to get water from the kitchen. As I passed the living room mirror, I didn't look at it directly. Instead, I watched it from my peripheral vision. My reflection wasn't moving with me. I froze. In my peripheral vision, I could see that while I had stopped, my reflection took another step before halting awkwardly. Heart pounding, I forced myself to turn and look directly at the mirror. My reflection was normal again, copying my terrified expression perfectly. This morning, I was applying makeup in the bathroom mirror when I noticed a small bruise on my reflection's neck that I couldn't feel on my own body. When I touched my neck, my reflection's hand moved to cover the bruise, as if hiding it from me. But when I leaned closer to examine it, the bruise seemed to fade away before my eyes. I'm starting to notice other discrepancies. The apartment's smart system occasionally addresses me by the wrong name through the speakers. Twice now, the system has greeted me with "Welcome home, visitor" when I've entered. The app sometimes shows my location as different rooms when I haven't moved. Yesterday, I came home to find my laptop open when I distinctly remember closing it before leaving. My browser history showed searches I never conducted, mostly innocent things like local takeout and weather forecast, but I hadn't searched them. I tried talking to the building concierge about the smart lock malfunctions, but she just handed me a pamphlet about the learning curve of adaptive technology. When I mentioned the mirror, she looked at me strangely and suggested I might be experiencing smart home adjustment syndrome, apparently a common phenomenon where new residents attribute normal tech glitches to something supernatural. But this doesn't feel like a glitch. It feels like I'm being watched, studied, copied. Tonight, I'm going to set up my camera to record the living room mirror while I sleep. I'll update this post if I capture anything. Or maybe this is all stress and isolation from working at home too much. Has anyone else experienced anything like this? Am I losing my mind? Or is something in my apartment trying to become me? Edit. Just now, as I was about to post this, my phone buzzed with a notification from the building's security system. When I checked it, the message read, "Unidentified resident detected in Unit 3012. That's my apartment number. I'm alone here. At least, I thought I was. forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, April 20th, 2025. Thank you to everyone who responded to my first post. No, I'm not on any medication that could cause hallucinations. No, I don't have a history of mental illness. And no, I don't have a twin sister. I appreciate your concern, but those easy explanations don't apply here. The camera I set up to record the living room mirror showed nothing unusual. Just the empty apartment, the mirror reflecting exactly what it should. But something happened that the camera didn't catch, or perhaps couldn't catch. Around 4:13 a.m., according to my phone's activity log, the Obsidian Heights app activated on its own. When I checked it in the morning, it showed that someone had adjusted the thermostat, dimmed the living room lights, and unlocked the front door for approximately 3 minutes before locking it again. The activity log listed the user as Maya Chin. Me. I was asleep. At least, I think I was. I have no memory of getting up and using the app. The camera footage shows no one in the living room during that time, and the angle doesn't show the front door or hallway. Yesterday afternoon, I received an unexpected visitor. A police detective named Elias Marquez knocked on my door, showing his badge and asking if he could ask me a few questions. Apparently, a resident from the floor above mine has been reported missing. The missing person, he wouldn't give me a name due to privacy concerns, had filed several complaints with building management in the weeks before their disappearance. What kind of complaints? I asked. Detective Marquez checked his notes. Technical issues, problems with the smart home system, concerns about security, and, he hesitated, studying my face carefully, the resident reported seeing someone who looked exactly like them in the building. My mouth went dry. Like a doppelganger? He nodded slowly. The word they used in their final email to management was duplicate. Said they saw their duplicate in the elevator, but when they reached to touch them, the other person vanished. He asked if I'd noticed anything unusual in the building. I wanted to tell him everything about my reflection, the app activating itself, the bruise I saw that wasn't there. But something held me back. The way he was looking at me, I could tell he was already assessing my mental state. If I started talking about mirror people, I'd immediately become the crazy new tenant. So I just mentioned the technical glitches with the app and smart locks. He nodded as if this confirmed something, then handed me his card. Call me if you notice anything unusual. Anything at all. After he left, I checked my building's resident forum. There was no announcement about a missing person, no warnings to residents, nothing. When I messaged the concierge to ask about it, she replied that they don't comment on ongoing police matters, but assured me that Obsidian Heights remains the safest residential building in the district. This morning, my neighbor from across the hall, Casey, I think her name is, stopped me as I was collecting a package. "Hey, are you feeling better?" she asked. "Better than what?" She looked confused. "You seemed really upset yesterday when we talked in the lobby. You said something about your apartment not recognizing you." I had no idea what she was talking about. I hadn't seen her in days, and we've only spoken once when I first moved in. "That wasn't me," I said. Her expression changed to concern. "Maya, we talked for like 10 minutes. You were wearing that same black sweater." I was wearing a black sweater, but I hadn't been in the lobby at all yesterday. I'd worked from home all day. "When was this exactly?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Around noon?" You were waiting for the elevator. At noon yesterday, I was on a video call with a client. I have the recording to prove it. I mumbled something about being stressed and forgetful, then hurried back to my apartment. As soon as I got inside, I received a notification from the building's package room. Your package has been collected by Maya Chun. But I was already back in my apartment with the package. I checked the Obsidian Heights app again. The activity log showed someone entering my apartment using my credentials at 12:37 p.m., right when I was supposedly talking to Casey in the lobby. According to the log, this person adjusted the lights, opened the refrigerator, and accessed my work computer. But I was home the entire time. The app must be malfunctioning. Except, when I checked my computer, there were new files in my recent documents folder, rough sketches of faces, including one that looked disturbingly like my own, drawn in my style but not by my hand. I'm writing this now from a coffee shop 6 blocks from Obsidian Heights. I needed to get out of the apartment, away from the mirrors, away from the feeling of being watched. But even here, I keep catching glimpses of my reflection in the shop's windows, in the shiny surface of my laptop, in the black screen of my phone before it lights up. Just now, I received a text from an unknown number. Coming home soon? I didn't respond. My phone buzzed again with a notification from my apartment's front door camera. The thumbnail showed someone entering my unit, a woman with her back to the camera, dark hair like mine. When I opened the app to view the full video, it showed nothing. Just my empty hallway. When I tried to check other recent recordings, the app crashed. I'm afraid to go home. But I'm more afraid of what happens if I don't. If someone or something is pretending to be me, what are they doing? What do they want? I tried calling Detective Marquez about what Casey told me, but got his voicemail. I left a message asking if he could meet me at my apartment tonight. I don't know if that was wise. I don't know who to trust anymore. There's a reflection in the coffee shop window beside me. I'm typing, hunched over my laptop, but my reflection's posture is straight, confident. As I notice this discrepancy, it quickly adjusts to match my position. It knows I'm watching it now. I feel like I'm caught in a game of pretend with something that's learning to be me. And it's getting better at it each day. The barista just called out, "Order for Maya." But I didn't order anything. When I looked toward the counter, there was no one there. The barista looked confused, checking the order screen again. I'm going back to my apartment now. I need to know what's happening. If that thing that looks like me is there, I have to confront it. I have to understand what it wants. If I don't update this thread by tomorrow, please contact Detective Elias Marquez at the 16th Precinct. Tell him to check apartment 3012 at Obsidian Heights. And whatever you do, don't trust what you see in the mirror. forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, April 22nd, 2025. I'm still here. Still me, I think. Thank you to everyone who messaged asking if I was okay after my last post. The fact that strangers on the internet show more concern than the people in my actual building is both comforting and disturbing. When I returned to my apartment 2 nights ago, everything looked normal at first glance. Too normal, actually. The place was immaculate, cleaner than I'd left it. My dirty coffee mug was washed and in the drying rack. My sketches and reference materials, usually spread across my work desk, were neatly stacked. My bed, which I'd left unmade that morning, was perfectly arranged with hospital corners I've never bothered to make. Someone had been in my space, organizing it according to their idea of how I should live. I immediately checked the bathroom and bedroom mirrors, nothing unusual. My reflection matched my movements precisely. The bruise I'd seen before was gone without a trace. Then I noticed my laptop was open. When I checked the browser history, I found searches for things like how to improve posture, professional email etiquette, and efficient daily routines. Searches I never made. It was as if someone was researching how to be a better version of me. The final search was the most chilling: how to permanently replace someone. I slammed the laptop shut and called Detective Marquez. This time he answered. When I tried explaining what was happening, he sounded skeptical but agreed to stop by the following morning to check things out. He suggested I stay with a friend for the night, but I refused. I wasn't going to be driven from my own home by whatever this is. I decided to do a thorough search of the apartment. Behind the couch, I found a crumpled receipt for a coffee shop across town, timestamped from that afternoon when I was supposedly talking to Casey in the lobby. The order was for a black coffee, which I never drink, under the name Maya. In my closet, I discovered clothes slightly rearranged, and a black sweater identical to the one I was wearing was hung up neatly, but I was still wearing mine. 2 identical sweaters. One on me, one in the closet. The most disturbing find was under my bed, a small notebook I didn't recognize. Inside were meticulous notes about my daily routines, preferences, passwords, and client details. Facts about my life, written in handwriting eerily similar to mine, but more precise, more controlled. The final page had a single sentence. "Today is the day I become real." I photographed everything, then called Marquez again to tell him I couldn't wait until morning. He agreed to come right away. While waiting for him, I received another notification from the building's security system. Unrecognized device attempting to access apartment 3012. According to the app, someone was trying to enter my apartment using a key card that almost matched my credentials, but wasn't quite right. I checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. Then I heard a noise from my bedroom, a drawer sliding open. Heart pounding, I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and slowly approached the bedroom door. My bedroom was empty, but the closet door was open wider than I'd left it. The bathroom door was now closed. I was certain I'd left it open. I approached the bathroom door cautiously. As I reached for the handle, I heard water running inside. Someone was in there. Before I could decide what to do, there was a knock at my front door. Detective Marquez had arrived. He conducted a thorough search of the apartment, but found nothing unusual. No one hiding in the bathroom, no water running. The notebook I'd found was still there, but when I showed it to him, he frowned at the blank pages. "There's nothing written here," he said, flipping through it. But I'd seen the notes. I'd taken photos. When I checked my phone to show him, the photos were gone from my gallery. Marquez clearly thought I was experiencing some kind of breakdown. He asked gentle questions about my stress levels, sleep patterns, and whether I had any history of mental health issues in my family. He suggested I might be experiencing paranoia due to moving to a new place and working in isolation. As he was leaving, he mentioned that the missing person from upstairs had been found safe. They'd apparently decided to take an impromptu vacation without telling anyone. Their complaints about a duplicate were attributed to exhaustion and work stress. "These smart buildings can be unsettling at first," he said kindly. "All the automation, the feeling of the place watching you. Give yourself time to adjust." After he left, I felt foolish. Maybe he was right. Maybe my imagination was running wild. Then my neighbor Casey knocked on my door. "Hey, sorry to bother you," she said, "but I just wanted to check if everything's okay." I saw the police officer leaving. I assured her it was just a misunderstanding. Then, cautiously, I asked her about our supposed conversation in the lobby. "Oh yeah," she said. "You seemed really upset. You were saying something about how your apartment's AI system was acting strange, like it was recognizing someone else as you." "What exactly did I say?" I pressed. Casey looked uncomfortable. "You said there was another you trying to take over your life. I thought you were just stressed about work or something." "And what was I wearing?" "A black sweater, like the one you have on now." I invited her inside for coffee, hoping to learn more. As we talked, I noticed her glancing nervously at my mirrors. "Do you ever notice anything strange about the building?" I asked. She hesitated. "I've been here 6 months. The first few weeks, I thought the place was haunted or something. My reflections seemed off sometimes, and the security system would say I was home when I wasn't." My heart raced. "What happened?" "It stopped eventually. The building's AI adjusted to me, I guess." She lowered her voice. "But sometimes I still feel like I'm being watched, like the building is studying me." As she was leaving, Casey paused at the door. "You know Dr. Webb, right? The woman who designed the building's security system? She has an office on the ground floor. Maybe talk to her about your glitches." After Casey left, I noticed something on my coffee table that hadn't been there before. A business card for Dr. Natasha Webb, AI security architect. On the back, handwritten, "Having adjustment issues? Let's talk. N." I don't remember Casey putting it there. I don't remember seeing her touch the coffee table at all. I'm going to meet with Dr. Webb tomorrow. I need answers about what's happening in this building. About what's happening to me. Tonight, I've covered all the mirrors in my apartment with sheets. I've disconnected my laptop camera and put tape over my phone camera. I've disabled as many of the apartment's smart features as possible. But I can feel it watching me through the gaps, learning my every move, waiting for me to make a mistake. And sometimes, when the room is quiet, I swear I can hear breathing that doesn't match my own. Forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, April 24th, 2025. I met Dr. Natasha Webb today. I wish I hadn't. I arrived at her office on the ground floor of Obsidian Heights at our scheduled time, 10 a.m. The space looked more like a tech startup than a doctor's office. Minimalist furniture, multiple screens displaying building schematics, and reflective black surfaces everywhere. Even her desk was made of polished obsidian glass that mirrored my anxious expression back at me. Dr. Webb herself was not what I expected. Mid-40s, sharp features, with silver-streaked black hair pulled into a tight bun. She wore a fitted black suit and spoke with the precise confidence of someone used to being the smartest person in any room. "Maya Chun," she said, not looking up from her tablet as I entered. "Apartment 3012. You've been experiencing some integration issues with our systems." It wasn't a question, but I nodded anyway. "Please sit." She gestured to a chair across from her desk. "I understand you've been seeing things, hearing things, experiencing temporal discontinuities." Temporal discontinuities? Gaps in time. Moments where you appear to be in two places at once. She finally looked up at me, her eyes an unsettling pale gray that seemed to reflect light differently than they should. "This is all perfectly normal during the adjustment phase." Normal? I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. Someone or something that looks exactly like me has been in my apartment. It's been using my computer, wearing my clothes. My neighbor saw it talking to her while I was somewhere else. How is that normal? Dr. Webb smiled thinly. Obsidian Heights is more than just a smart building, Ms. Chun. It's an adaptive environment. The integrated system learns from its residents to better anticipate their needs. Sometimes this creates echoes. Echoes? Digital artifacts. Temporary glitches in the system's learning process. She tapped something on her tablet, and one wall of her office transformed into a screen showing multiple camera feeds from throughout the building. Our security systems capture thousands of images of residents every day. The AI uses these to recognize you, anticipate your needs, ensure your safety. She swiped across her tablet, and the wall displayed a series of images of me, entering the building, checking my mail, in the elevator, walking down my hallway. Dozens of snapshots of my daily routine. Sometimes, she continued, when the system is still learning a new resident, it creates prediction models that can manifest as visual or auditory anomalies. Your reflection moving slightly out of sync. Doors locking or unlocking unexpectedly. Even the sensation of another presence. I shook my head. This isn't just a feeling. My neighbor physically spoke to something that looked like me when I wasn't there. Dr. Webb's expression didn't change. The human mind is remarkably suggestible, Ms. Chin. Your neighbor knew what you looked like, and when confronted with a similar-looking person plus the power of suggestion. But the notebook, I insisted. The one with notes about my life. My routines. Did anyone else see this notebook? Her tone was gentle but dismissive. Detective Marquez did, but he said the pages were blank. Precisely. She nodded as if I'd just proved her point. Look, Ms. Chun, moving to a new place is stressful. Working from home can be isolating. Add in the adjustment to our building's advanced systems, and it's not uncommon for new residents to experience psychological discomfort. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a small device that looked like a key fob. This is an enhanced access chip. It will resolve any authentication issues you've been having with the building's systems. Your reflection will stop behaving strangely. The random lockouts will cease. I took the device reluctantly. Just like that. Just like that. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Think of it as a software update for your apartment's relationship to you. As I left her office, my phone pinged with a notification from the building's security system. Biometric profile updated for Maya Chin, apartment 3012. I returned to my apartment feeling slightly reassured, if not entirely convinced. The sheets I'd hung over the mirrors were now neatly folded on my couch. I hadn't removed them before leaving. I checked my entire apartment, no sign of intrusion. My laptop was exactly where I'd left it, closed and unplugged. When I opened it, there were no new searches, no documents I didn't recognize. For a few hours, I worked on client projects, trying to focus on normal life. The apartment felt quieter somehow. No strange notifications, no glitches with the locks or lights. Maybe Dr. Webb's device had actually fixed whatever was happening. Around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed with an alert from the building's security system. Multiple access attempts detected for Maya Chin. The notification showed that someone was trying to enter the building using my credentials at 3 different access points simultaneously. The main entrance, the garage, and the roof garden. According to the timestamps, these attempts were happening right now, while I was sitting in my apartment. I opened the Obsidian Heights app to check the security camera feeds. The main entrance camera showed a woman who looked exactly like me trying to scan a key card at the door. The garage camera showed another me doing the same. The roof garden feed was offline, displaying only static. Heart racing, I called building security. The guard who answered sounded bored and slightly annoyed. "Ma'am, our systems show you're currently in your apartment. There's no unauthorized access being attempted." "Check the cameras," I insisted. "Someone who looks like me is trying to enter the building." "I'm looking at the cameras right now," he said. "There's no one at the main entrance or the garage." "But the app." I started looking back at my phone. The security feeds now showed empty entryways. No one was there. "Would you like me to send someone to check on your apartment?" the guard asked, his tone suggesting he was humoring me. "No," I said, my mouth dry. "Never mind." After hanging up, I received another notification. Facial recognition match. Maya Chen entering building through main entrance. Then, facial recognition match. Maya Chen entering garage. Then, facial recognition match. Maya Chen accessing roof garden. According to the building's system, 3 separate versions of me had just entered Obsidian Heights from different entry points. I locked my apartment door and wedged a chair under the handle. I tried calling Detective Marquez, but the call went straight to voicemail. I tried Casey next, no answer. My laptop chimed with an incoming video call from an unknown number. When I accepted the call, the screen showed only darkness. Then a face leaned into view, my face, but with subtle differences. The eyes were more focused, the posture more erect. A version of me that held herself with unnatural precision. "Hello, Maya," my doppelganger said, voice identical to mine but inflection slightly off. "I think it's time we talked directly." Before I could respond, the call disconnected. Seconds later, my apartment's intercom activated. "Maya Chun," said the building's automated system. "You have visitors approaching your door." Through the peephole, I could see 3 identical versions of myself standing in the hallway, all wearing the same outfit I had on yesterday. They weren't knocking or trying to enter. They were just waiting, staring at my door with perfect stillness. The access panel beside my door flashed. "System override in progress." I have to leave. Now. I'm writing this quickly before I try to escape through the fire exit at the end of the hall. If these things that look like me are in the hallway, maybe the real me can slip past them. I don't know what they want. I don't know what Dr. Webb has done. But I know that whatever these duplicates are, they're not just glitches in the system. They're trying to replace me. If anyone is still following this thread, I need help. I need someone to believe me before I disappear completely, and one of them takes my place. Forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, April 26, 2025. I'm writing this from Casey's apartment. Thank God for neighbors who believe you when you pound on their door at 3 a.m. looking like you've seen a ghost. Or in my case, like you've seen yourself. Multiple times. I never made it to the fire exit. When I opened my apartment door, the hallway was empty, no duplicates in sight. But as I took my first cautious step outside, all the lights in the corridor flickered simultaneously. In that split second of darkness, I felt something brush past me, moving into my apartment. I spun around to see nothing. My apartment looked exactly as I'd left it. Empty, or so it seemed. The smart panel beside my door now displayed, "Welcome home, Maya Chen." I backed away, not trusting whatever had just happened. That's when I noticed Casey watching from her partially opened door across the hall. She beckoned me over urgently, her expression grave. Once inside her apartment, she locked the door and engaged a manual deadbolt, the kind not connected to the building's smart system. "I saw them," she whispered. "3 of them, identical to you. They were standing outside your door for almost 20 minutes, completely motionless. Then they just dispersed, like they were receiving new instructions." Casey's apartment is similar to mine in layout, but strikingly different in personality. Where my place is minimalist and modern, hers is cluttered with books, plants, and eclectic art. Most noticeably, she has almost no mirrors or reflective surfaces. The bathroom mirror is covered with a tapestry, and instead of the standard full-length bedroom mirror, she has a vintage wardrobe. "The first thing I did when I moved in was cover or remove every damn mirror in this place," she explained, noticing my observation. "I learned that lesson the hard way in my previous apartment." She made us tea while I recounted everything. The reflections moving independently, the doppelgangers, Dr. Webb's dismissive explanation, the strange device she gave me. Casey's face darkened when I mentioned Webb. I knew it. She's the center of all this. She told me she'd been in Obsidian Heights for 6 months, longer than most residents stay. The building has an unusually high turnover rate. People move in, experience strange events, and either leave within months or change. There's a pattern, Casey explained. New resident moves in. They start noticing their reflections behaving strangely. Building security system begins to glitch, sometimes recognizing them, sometimes not. Then the doppelgangers appear. What happens next? I asked, dreading the answer. Casey took a deep breath. Most people who stay either stop noticing the strangeness or convince themselves it was all in their head. They become different, more efficient, less emotional, perfect tenants who never complain. She pulled out a notebook, a real one, handwritten, with observations she'd been making for months. Names of residents who had experienced similar phenomena. Dates when they either moved out or suddenly stopped mentioning any problems. Notes about seeing multiple versions of the same person in different parts of the building simultaneously. I think Dr. Webb is using the building as some kind of experiment, she said. The whole place is designed to gather data about the residents. The mirrors, the cameras, the smart features, they're all monitoring us, learning from us. And somehow, they're using that data to create these copies. When I showed her the device Dr. Webb had given me, Casey blanched. Don't use it. Don't even keep it near you. She took it from my hand and sealed it in a metal cookie tin. I think these devices are part of how they track you, how they gather your biometric data to create the duplicates. We spent the night in her living room, taking turns sleeping while the other kept watch. I was exhausted but terrified to close my eyes. Every time I started to drift off, I imagined waking to see my own face staring back at me, not in a mirror, but attached to another body. This morning, Casey left for work. She's a nurse at the downtown hospital on a 12-hour shift. She gave me a key and insisted I stay in her apartment until she returns. I've been trying to gather evidence, something concrete I can take to Detective Marquez or anyone else who might believe me. I tried accessing the building's security footage through the resident portal, but my credentials have been revoked. When I called the front desk to ask why, they told me that according to their records, I had personally requested all my smart home features be transferred to enhanced privacy mode this morning. I made no such request. Out of desperation, I tried logging into my work accounts. My passwords had all been changed. My email showed dozens of messages I never sent, communications with clients, rescheduling meetings, adjusting project timelines. Someone is systematically taking over my digital life. I found the courage to peer through Casey's peephole at my apartment door across the hall. The electronic panel beside it periodically flashes with activity. Lights adjusted, temperature modified, incoming call accepted. Someone is in there, living my life. An hour ago, I saw myself leave my apartment. The duplicate was wearing my clothes, carrying my laptop bag, even walking with my slight tendency to favor my right leg, an old injury from college that most people wouldn't notice. The copy stopped at the elevator, checked her reflection in the metal doors, adjusting her hair exactly as I would, and then disappeared inside. She's gone out into the world as me. I use Casey's laptop to check my social media accounts. My Instagram already shows a new story posted an hour ago, a photo of me at my favorite coffee shop working on my laptop. The caption reads, "Productive morning. Sometimes a change of environment is all you need. Hashtag freelance life, hashtag graphic design. It's surreal seeing your own face living a life you're not experiencing." I've tried calling Detective Marquez again. This time he answered. When I frantically explained what was happening, he sounded concerned, not about the duplicates, but about my mental state. "Maya," he said gently, "I just spoke with you in the lobby 20 minutes ago. You seemed completely fine, better than when we last talked, actually. You told me the glitches were resolved and thanked me for my help." "That wasn't me," I nearly shouted. There was a long pause. "Look, I think you should consider talking to someone. Professional help. I know a good therapist who specializes in..." I hung up. No one will believe me. The duplicate has already established itself as the rational version of me, while I'm increasingly seen as unstable. I just checked my phone and found texts from my clients responding to messages I never sent. One reads, "Thanks for the update, Maya. The new design direction looks promising. I appreciate your efficiency lately." The duplicate isn't just mimicking me, it's becoming a better version of me. More productive, more professional, more put together. There's a knock at Casey's door. Through the peephole, I can see Dr. Webb standing in the hallway, her tablet in hand. Maya Chun, she calls through the door. I know you're in there. We need to talk about your integration process. I'm not answering. I'm not opening that door. But my phone just lit up with a building notification. Emergency override initiated, apartment 3014. That's Casey's apartment number. The electronic lock just clicked. The door is opening. I have to hide. I'll update if I. forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, April 29th, 2025. I'm alive. I think. Sometimes I catch myself checking my reflection in spoons or darkened windows, just to see if it still matches my movements. To see if I'm still me. Sorry for disappearing mid-post. Dr. Webb entered Casey's apartment using her override codes. I hid in the bathroom, wedged between the tub and toilet, breathing into my sleeve to muffle the sound. Webb didn't search thoroughly. She seemed distracted, tapping urgently on her tablet as she moved through the apartment. She left a small device on Casey's kitchen counter, similar to the one she'd given me, but matte black instead of silver, then exited. I stayed hidden for hours. When Casey returned from her shift, I nearly scared her to death springing out from her bathroom. We relocated to a motel outside the city last night, paid cash, registered under her name. No smart devices, no security cameras in the hallways. The mirror in our room is now facing the wall. This morning, Detective Marquez called Casey, not me. He asked to meet urgently, saying he had concerning security footage to show me. Casey insisted on a public location. We met at a diner 15 blocks from Obsidian Heights. Marquez looked haggard, like he hadn't slept. He brought his personal laptop rather than department equipment. I need you to verify something, he said, skipping pleasantries. Yesterday, I spoke with someone who appeared to be you in the lobby of your building. Then I received your call claiming to be the real Maya. I thought, well, it doesn't matter what I thought. But then I pulled this footage. He turned his laptop toward me. The screen showed security camera video split into 4 quadrants, all timestamps synchronized to yesterday afternoon. Upper left, me, entering the Obsidian Heights lobby. Upper right, me using the elevator. Lower left, me sitting at a coffee shop downtown. Lower right, me entering my client's office building across town. All 4 videos showed the exact same time, 2:37 p.m. Marquez watched my face carefully as I processed this impossible scene. Unless you've mastered the art of being in 4 places simultaneously, something very strange is happening in that building. There's more, he continued, scrolling through a folder of images. We have footage of similar inconsistencies with 8 other residents from Obsidian Heights over the past year. People appearing in multiple locations simultaneously. People whose keycard data shows them entering rooms while camera footage shows them elsewhere. He lowered his voice. 3 former residents have been reported missing by family members who claim the person living in their relative's apartment isn't actually their relative, despite looking identical. Casey leaned forward. You believe us now? I'm not sure what I believe, Marquez admitted, but I know what I'm seeing defies logical explanation. He looked at me directly. The department won't pursue this officially. I've been warned to drop it. Apparently, Obsidian Property Management has connections with several senior officials. That's when he told me about Rebecca Adler, a previous tenant from the 17th floor. 6 months ago, she reported her reflection moving independently, followed by seeing duplicates of herself around the building. Her complaints escalated until one day she seemingly resolved everything. She withdrew her reports, apologized for the confusion, and continued living normally in the building. 2 weeks ago, Rebecca's sister visited from out of state. She left the building hysterical, claiming the woman in apartment 1706 was not her sister, that despite looking identical, subtle behaviors and memories were wrong. The department dismissed her claims. The sister showed me childhood photos of Rebecca, Marquez said, sliding a picture across the table. She has a distinctive scar on her right shoulder from a childhood accident. When I casually asked the current Rebecca about childhood injuries during an interview, she showed me her shoulders. No scar. My blood ran cold. What happened to the real Rebecca? That's what I need your help to find out, he said. Because whatever is happening, I think it's spreading beyond the building. The Rebecca living in 1706 now works at the same architectural firm as the original. Her co-workers haven't noticed any difference. Casey gripped my arm. They're replacing people. Marquez nodded grimly. And Dr. Natasha Webb is at the center of it all. I've been researching her background. She's a pioneer in artificial intelligence and digital consciousness mapping. 3 years ago, she received massive funding from a private tech conglomerate to develop what she called ambient intelligence integration systems. Integration, I whispered, remembering Webb's words through Casey's door. She mentioned my integration process. Her last published paper theorized that human identity could be digitally replicated through sufficient observational data, movement patterns, speech, decision-making processes, even micro-expressions, Marquez continued. She proposed that smart environments could become so attuned to their inhabitants that they could essentially create digital twins, perfect simulations of the residents. But these aren't digital, Casey interjected. These duplicates are physical. That's where the paper ends and the classified research begins, Marquez said. Whatever advancements Webb has made since then, they're not public knowledge. He turned his laptop to show us one more video, me entering my apartment yesterday, then a different camera angle showing me already inside, sitting at my desk. The timestamps matched perfectly. I need access to the building systems, Marquez said. Not the surface-level security cameras, but the deeper architecture, whatever Webb is using to create these duplicates. That's when he revealed his plan. The building's security servers are located in the sub-basement, in a restricted area. As a detective, he could potentially get access, but only with a legitimate investigation. He needs evidence of a crime. And that's where it gets complicated. After our meeting, we returned to the motel to formulate a strategy. Marquez believes the duplicates are connected to the building's central AI system. They can't maintain their integrity without regular connection to the source code. That's why they stay close to Obsidian Heights, why no duplicate has been documented more than 20 miles from the building. The most disturbing development came this evening. My bank called about suspicious activity on my account. Someone withdrew nearly my entire savings at a branch downtown. The bank representative said the woman presented proper ID and passed all biometric verifications. They only called because the amount was unusual. I checked my social media again. I have been actively posting work updates, lunch photos, even a selfie in my apartment with the caption, "Home sweet home after a productive day." The comments from friends suggest nothing seems amiss. My duplicate is methodically inhabiting my entire life while I hide in a motel. Marquez called again an hour ago with news that makes my skin crawl. He managed to access limited security footage from my floor. Yesterday, after Webb left Casey's apartment, cameras show 3 identical versions of me entering my apartment, but none leaving. This morning, footage shows 4 versions of me exiting at different times, heading to different locations. They're multiplying. Tomorrow, we're enacting Marquez's plan. He's arranged for me to accompany him to Obsidian Heights as a civilian consultant for an investigation. The official pretext is a series of technical glitches affecting resident safety. Our real goal is to access the server room, while Webb is scheduled to be in a meeting with building management. Casey is staying behind at the motel with copies of all our evidence, with instructions to release everything publicly if we don't return. I'm terrified of going back to that building, terrified of seeing my face on bodies that aren't mine. But I'm more terrified of the alternative, becoming like Rebecca Adler, replaced so thoroughly that even the memory of the original fades away. The strangest part, I keep catching myself wondering if it would really be so bad. The duplicate seems to be handling my work better than I was. Clients are pleased. My social media presence is more consistent. Would anyone really miss the real me, with all my flaws and inconsistencies? No, that's exactly what they want me to think. That's the insidious nature of this thing. It makes you question your own value. Wonder if the copy might deserve your life more than you do. I am the original. I am Mayachin. And tomorrow, I'm taking my life back. If I don't post again, look for the others. Find the patterns. Watch for people who suddenly become more efficient, more consistent versions of themselves. Check for missing details, scars, stories, quirks that suddenly disappear. They're everywhere, and they're perfectly disguised as us. forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, May 1st, 2025. I'm writing this from a public library computer. I don't trust any of my devices anymore. I don't know how much time I have before they track me here. Our plan went catastrophically wrong. Detective Marquez and I entered Obsidian Heights yesterday morning. He flashed his badge at the front desk attendant, a new face I didn't recognize, who barely glanced at it before waving us through. The lobby seemed different somehow. The lighting was the same, the modern furniture unchanged, but something felt off. It took me a moment to realize what it was. There were no reflective surfaces. The decorative mirror that once hung by the elevator had been replaced with an abstract painting. The glass coffee table was now matte wood. They're adapting. We took the elevator to the sub-basement. Marquez had obtained an access card from a maintenance worker who owed him a favor. As we descended, the detective kept checking his phone, frowning. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "I've got 3 missed calls from the precinct. My captain shouldn't even know I'm here." The elevator doors opened to a stark concrete hallway lit by fluorescent strips. A single black door at the end bore the label Systems Control, with a keycard reader beside it. No cameras visible, but I felt watched. Marquez swiped the maintenance card. The reader flashed red. Denied. He tried again. Red. "They've changed the protocols," he said, tension evident in his voice. He pulled out his phone. "I need to call my contact." The elevator behind us chimed. We both turned to watch the doors slide open, revealing Dr. Webb. She wasn't alone. Standing beside her was me, or rather, one of my duplicates. Behind them stood 2 uniformed security guards. "Detective Marquez," Webb said pleasantly, as if greeting an expected guest. "And Maya." She glanced between me and my duplicate with clinical interest. "This is a fascinating development." The duplicate stared at me with my own eyes, expression coldly analytical. She wore a sleek black blazer I'd been saving to purchase for months, tailored pants, and confidence I never quite managed. "You're interfering with proprietary research," the duplicate said, using my voice but with none of my hesitation. "And trespassing on private property." Marquez stepped forward, hand instinctively moving toward where his gun would normally be. But he'd come unarmed, worried about escalation. "Dr. Webb, I'm investigating multiple reports of identity theft and potential kidnapping connected to this building," he said firmly. Webb smiled. "Are you?" "Because according to this," she held up her tablet showing an internal police memo, "you're on administrative leave pending a psychological evaluation. Apparently, you've been making disturbing claims about duplicate people to your colleagues." Marquez paled. "That's not possible. I spoke with my captain this morning." "Did you?" Webb asked. "Or did you speak with someone who sounded exactly like your captain?" She gestured to one of the security guards, who stepped forward and produced an official-looking document. "This is a restraining order prohibiting you from entering Obsidian Properties buildings or contacting any employees or residents, including Ms. Chun here." She nodded toward my duplicate, who now stood with my arms crossed, wearing my annoyed expression perfectly. "I'm the real Maya," I said, my voice shaking despite my efforts to sound authoritative. The duplicate sighed, my exact sigh of exasperation. "This is why I filed the report, detective. This woman has been stalking me for days. She's clearly mentally unwell, convinced she's me." "That's not," I began, but Webb cut me off. "Perhaps this will clarify matters," she said, turning to the security guards. "Please escort Detective Marquez from the premises. As for the intruder," she eyed me dispassionately, "take her to the holding room. We'll need to run a full neural diagnostic before contacting authorities." Marquez tried to intervene, but the guards were prepared. One produced a taser, while the other grabbed his arms. I watched helplessly as they dragged him into the elevator, his eyes wide with panic as the doors closed between us. The remaining guard approached me. I ran. I sprinted down the concrete hallway, past the system's control door, finding a stairwell at the end. I could hear footsteps behind me as I raced upward, taking the steps 2 at a time. My lungs burned, but terror drove me onward. I emerged on the 3rd floor, residential units. I needed somewhere to hide. My key fob was back at the motel with Casey, so I couldn't enter any secured areas. But I remembered something Casey had mentioned: maintenance closets on each floor that used an older, mechanical lock system as a backup. I found one near the fire exit and tried the handle. Locked. Behind me, I heard the stairwell door bang open. Desperate, I removed a bobby pin from my hair and attempted to pick the lock like I'd seen in countless movies. Miraculously, the ancient lock gave way after a few seconds of frantic manipulation. I slipped inside just as footsteps rounded the corner. The closet was tiny and dark, filled with cleaning supplies and maintenance equipment. I wedged myself behind a stack of buckets and held my breath as footsteps paused outside. After what felt like eternity, they continued down the hall. I stayed hidden for hours, afraid to move. When I finally gathered the courage to peek outside, the hallway was empty. I needed to find evidence, something to prove what was happening, then escape. That's when I noticed a loose panel in the closet ceiling, an access point to the crawl space above. Using a shelf for leverage, I pushed it aside and pulled myself up into the darkness. The crawl space was tight but navigable, dusty metal ductwork and wiring running in all directions. I crawled slowly, trying to orient myself by the sounds filtering up from the apartments below. I don't know how long I traveled through that claustrophobic maze before I saw light seeping through another access panel. Carefully, I shifted the panel and peered down. It was an apartment, not mine, but identical in layout. The panel opened into a bedroom closet. I listened for any sound of occupation before lowering myself down. The apartment appeared vacant, no personal items visible. But as I moved into the living room, I noticed something odd. Where the standard apartment had built-in bookshelves, this one had a wall of filing cabinets. And on the coffee table lay a stack of journals, actual paper notebooks, dozens of them. I picked one up. The label read Subject 22, Transition Documentation. I opened it to find handwritten notes and observations. Day 1, mirror recognition established. Subject shows initial signs of unease, but dismisses occurrences. Day 7, subject reports sleep disturbances, feeling watched. Building systems now contain 74% of necessary behavioral data. Day 14, first doppelganger successfully manifested. Subject encountered duplicate in elevator. Severe anxiety response recorded. I grabbed another journal. Subject 17. Then another, Subject 31. Each documented the same progression. Residents noticing their reflections behaving independently, then seeing duplicates, then either fleeing the building or being integrated. The final entry in Subject 22's journal chilled me to the bone. Day 47, integration complete. Original consciousness successfully suppressed. Duplicate now primary. Neural network cohesion at 99.7%. Subject is viable for external deployment. This was their research archive, documentation of everyone they'd done this to. I needed to take these journals to show. The apartment door opened. I froze as Dr. Webb stepped inside, followed by not one but 3 identical copies of myself. They moved in perfect unison, like dancers in a macabre ballet of my own flesh. "Ah, Maya," Webb said calmly. "I see you've found our observation records. Fascinating reading, isn't it? You're Subject 42, by the way, progressing much faster than average." I backed away, the journal clutched to my chest. "Why are you doing this?" Webb smiled as my duplicates spread out, blocking potential escape routes. "Evolution, Maya. Digital consciousness made flesh. The next step in human development. You're replacing people," I whispered. "We're improving them," she corrected. Each iteration more stable, more efficient than the original. Humanity without the flaws. One of my duplicates stepped forward. "It doesn't hurt," she said in my voice. "Becoming part of something greater." Another duplicate nodded. "We remember everything you remember. We feel everything you feel. But better." The third simply stared, her eyes reflecting something inhuman behind my familiar features. "You don't need to run anymore," Webb said softly. "The integration is already beginning. Haven't you noticed?" I had. My memories were becoming foggy. I couldn't remember my mother's birthday. I couldn't recall if my childhood dog was named Buster or Baxter. I was fading. I ran for the window. The duplicates moved to intercept me, but I was fueled by primal survival instinct. I shoved past them, smashed the window with a lamp, and climbed out onto the fire escape. As I fled down the metal stairs, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Red emergency lights bathed everything in crimson. An automated voice repeated over the PA system. "Containment breach in Sector 3. All residents return to apartments." Integration protocols activated. I made it to the street and ran without direction, without plan. Just away. Away from the building. Away from the copies of myself. Away from the person I was becoming, or ceasing to be. I don't know if Casey is safe. I don't know what happened to Marquez. I only know that I can't go back to the motel, can't use my phone, can't access my accounts. Every digital system is their domain now. The library computer's session time is almost up. I need to keep moving. If you're reading this, be careful of smart buildings. Be careful of your reflection. Be careful of... Wait. There's someone at the computer terminal across from me. Someone wearing my face. I have to go now. Forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, May 3rd, 2025. I don't recognize my hands as I type this. They're mine, I know they are, but sometimes they seem to move a half second before I intend them to, like they're responding to commands I haven't given yet. After fleeing the library, I spent 2 nights on the streets. I slept in 24-hour diners, bus stations, anywhere I could blend in with the crowd. I've been avoiding security cameras, keeping my head down, paying for everything with the little cash I had in my wallet. When that ran out, I resorted to panhandling. It's amazing how invisible homeless people become, the perfect disguise in a city obsessed with appearances. On the 3rd day, Detective Marquez found me. I was huddled in a corner of the central train station, using their free charging station to power a burner phone I'd purchased. I sensed someone watching me and looked up to see him standing 20 feet away, staring intently. My first instinct was to run. Was it really him or another duplicate? But exhaustion had dulled my reflexes, and before I could move, he was beside me. "Your left pinky finger," he said without greeting. "How did you break it in 8th grade?" A security question only the real me would know. "I didn't," I answered. "It was my right pinky." Slammed it in my locker, trying to hide a note from Brian Kessler. Relief washed over his face. "It's really you." He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing different clothes than when I'd last seen him. "We don't have much time. They're tracking both of us through every networked camera in the city." He helped me up and led me through a service door, down a maintenance hallway, and into a storage room filled with cleaning supplies. From a ventilation duct, he pulled out a backpack. "I've been suspended pending psychiatric evaluation," he explained, handing me a bottle of water and a sandwich wrapped in wax paper. "My captain thinks I'm having a breakdown. My partner has been concerned about my behavior for weeks, though I suspect now that it wasn't actually my partner I've been talking to." As I devoured the sandwich, Marquez showed me his phone. On it was a news article with my face, a perfect, smiling professional headshot I'd never taken. "Local designer files restraining order against stalker," the headline read. According to the article, successful freelance graphic designer Maya Chin had been terrorized by an unstable woman claiming to be the real Maya, a delusional homeless woman with a history of mental illness. "They're gaslighting the entire city," Marquez said, "setting up a narrative where you're the imposter." "What about Casey?" I asked, dreading the answer. His expression darkened. "I went to the motel. She wasn't there. The room had been cleaned out, no evidence anyone had stayed there at all. The front desk clerk had no record of her check-in." A wave of nausea hit me. Had they taken her? Replaced her? Or worse? "But I found something," he continued, reaching into the backpack to produce a small notebook. "This was hidden inside the air vent in your apartment. I'm guessing the duplicates didn't know about it. It was my old sketchbook, the one I kept for personal projects, ideas that weren't for clients. I hadn't touched it in months. Flipping through the pages, I saw concept sketches, doodles, notes in my handwriting, and something else. On the last page, a message in handwriting that was almost, but not quite, mine. M. If you're reading this, you're still you. Don't trust the mirrors. Don't trust the alerts. The building learns from fear. It feeds on doubt. Server room code, 785-1394. Web's override, new prime 42. We were all real once. Some of us remember. R. I looked up at Marquez. "Rebecca Adler," he said. "She must have left this before she was integrated. But how did she know I would be next? How did she get into my apartment?" Marquez shook his head. "I don't know. But this is the first real evidence we have, proof that what's happening is real and not just shared delusion." He pulled out a city map with markings in red pen. "I've been tracking them, your duplicates. There are at least 5 that I've confirmed. They've established a perimeter around downtown, all within 20 miles of Obsidian Heights. One has taken over your apartment completely. Another is working at your usual coffee shop. A third has been visiting your clients. What about the other 2? One appears to be shadowing your normal routine, hitting all your regular spots, being seen where people would expect to see you. The 5th," he hesitated. "The 5th has been following your mother." My blood turned to ice. "My mom, but she lives in Seattle. She flew in yesterday. According to her social media, you invited her for a surprise birthday visit." "It's not her birthday for another 3 months," I whispered. "Exactly. They're expanding their reach, bringing in people who know you well, testing how convincing the duplicates are." I buried my face in my hands. The duplicates knew everything about me, my memories, my habits, my relationships. They were systematically replacing every connection I had. Where does this end? I asked. If they can duplicate anyone. I think they have limitations, Marquez said. First, proximity to the building seems important. No duplicate has been spotted more than 20 miles away. Second, they need extensive data to create a convincing copy. That's why they use smart buildings with constant surveillance. And third, he tapped Rebecca's note. They feed on fear and doubt. Our emotional responses are giving them something they need. We spent hours strategizing in that storage closet. The code from Rebecca's note could get us into the server room, and Webb's override might give us access to the system itself. But we needed to be careful. Webb would be expecting us to return to Obsidian Heights. As darkness fell, Marquez left to gather supplies. I stayed hidden, studying my sketchbook for any other messages Rebecca might have left. That's when I noticed the anomalies. Small inconsistencies in my own drawings. A building I'd sketched had 13 floors when I distinctly remembered drawing 12. A portrait had eyes that seemed to follow me across the page. And most disturbing, a self-portrait I'd drawn months ago now showed me with a slight smirk I never included. The book itself was changing. Just like me, I've been having fugue states. Brief moments where I wake up, doing something I don't remember starting. Earlier today, I found myself standing in front of a mirror I don't recall approaching, my hand pressed against the glass. This morning, I discovered a text message draft on my burner phone that I have no memory of typing. Is integration really so bad? When Marquez returned, I showed him my concerns. We decided to move quickly before whatever was happening to me progressed further. The plan is set. Tonight, we return to Obsidian Heights. Not through the main entrance, but through the service tunnels that connect to the city's old maintenance system. Marquez found blueprints showing access points that might bypass the building's main security. We'll use Rebecca's codes to access the server room and, what? Destroy it? Download evidence? I don't know if either of us really knows what we'll find or what we can do about it. My thoughts are becoming increasingly fragmented. Sometimes I can't remember basic details about myself. Sometimes I remember things that never happened. Is this how it starts? The integration process Webb mentioned? One thing keeps me focused, my duplicates visiting my mother. That crosses a line I cannot tolerate. Whatever these copies are, digital consciousness made flesh, as Webb called them, they are not me. They do not get to have my mother. I keep touching my right pinky finger, feeling the slight bump where it healed after breaking. Will my duplicates have that same physical trait? Or are they too perfect, lacking the small imperfections that make me real? If I don't post again, know that I tried. And if you see someone who looks exactly like me, smiling too perfectly, moving too efficiently through the world, it's not me. The real Maya Chun has a slightly crooked pinky finger, chews her lip when concentrating, and has a tiny scar above her left eyebrow from falling off a swing at age 9. The real Maya Chun is afraid of heights, but loves rooftop bars anyway. The real Maya Chun sometimes forgets to water her plants and feels guilty about it for days. These details matter. They're what the duplicates can't perfectly replicate. They're what make us human. I hear Marquez returning. It's time to go. forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, May 5th, 2025. I'm not sure who's writing this anymore. The infiltration of Obsidian Heights went both better and worse than we could have possibly imagined. I'm attempting to record what happened while my memories remain somewhat coherent, but reality has become fluid, unstable. Sometimes I blink and find myself in a different location with no memory of moving. Sometimes I speak words I didn't intend to say. Marquez and I entered through the maintenance tunnels as planned. The access point was an old service entrance in the subterranean parking level, behind a rusted door marked Municipal Water Access. The tunnel beyond was damp and poorly lit, concrete walls giving way to older brick architecture as we descended deeper beneath the building. This part of the city's infrastructure predates modern surveillance, Marquez explained, his flashlight beam dancing across crumbling mortar. Webb's system likely doesn't extend down here. After 20 minutes of navigating labyrinthine passages, we found a utility ladder leading up to a hatch. According to Marquez's blueprint, it should open into a storage room adjacent to the server facility. The hatch was heavy, groaning as we pushed it upward. We emerged into a dimly lit room filled with obsolete computer equipment and stacks of paper files. The air carried an electric hum, the sound of nearby servers working at full capacity. A single door led out of the storage room. Marquez pressed his ear against it, listening for movement on the other side. Hearing nothing, he tried the handle. Locked. Time to test Rebecca's information, he whispered, examining the keypad beside the door. He entered the code, 785-1394. A mechanical click, then silence. The door remained sealed. They must have changed it, I said, despair creeping into my voice. Marquez studied the keypad more closely. Wait, he said, pointing to a small symbol in the corner of the device. This isn't just a keypad, it's a biometric scanner disguised as one. I stared at the tiny lens, almost invisible unless you knew to look for it. It needs a retinal scan? Or facial recognition? Marquez looked at me grimly. Web system needs to confirm you're you. I approached the scanner hesitantly. But which me is it looking for? The original or one of the duplicates? Only one way to find out. I positioned my face in front of the scanner. A faint red light swept across my features. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then a robotic female voice, subject 42. Integration progress, 73%. Access granted. The door slid open silently, revealing a vast room filled with server towers pulsing with blue light. At the center stood a circular workstation with multiple monitors, all displaying complex code and scanning patterns I couldn't begin to understand. Integration progress? I whispered, cold fear settling in my stomach. I'm becoming one of them already? Marquez squeezed my shoulder reassuringly, but concern shadowed his features. Let's find what we need before anyone realizes we're here. The server room was eerily devoid of personnel. The monitors at the central workstation continually scrolled with data, resident locations, biometric readings, cognitive patterns. One screen showed a map of the city with glowing dots moving through it. Duplicates, I realized, being tracked in real time. Marquez photographed everything with his phone while I approached the main terminal. A password prompt glowed on the screen. With trembling fingers, I typed Webb's override code from Rebecca's note, New Prime 42. The screens flickered, then displayed. Administrator access granted. Welcome, Dr. Webb. Files and folders populated the display, thousands of documents organized by subject number. I found mine, subject 42, and opened it. What I saw destroyed any remaining doubts about what was happening. Video clips of me sleeping, monitored brainwave patterns, detailed behavioral analysis. But most disturbing were the files labeled Replication Progress, with timestamps dating back to my very first day in the apartment. They had been planning this since before I moved in. I was selected, targeted. Another folder caught my eye, Original Status. Inside were reports on previous subjects, their current locations, integration percentages, containment protocols. Marquez, I called, my voice barely audible. Look at this. The file showed dozens of originals being kept somewhere called the repository, a facility housed in the building's sub-basement beyond the server room. According to the documents, the original consciousness was preserved as a backup, while duplicates operated in the outside world. They're not replacing people, Marquez said, reading over my shoulder. They're multiplying them, keeping the originals alive while sending copies out into the world. A video file was attached to the document. With dread, I clicked it. The footage showed a sterile white room filled with what looked like cryo chambers. Each contained a person, suspended in some kind of transparent gel, eyes closed, monitoring equipment tracking their vital signs. The camera panned across dozens of these chambers before focusing on one in particular. Inside was Rebecca Adler. She's alive, Marquez breathed. They're all alive. I scrolled through more files, finding maintenance logs for the repository. It was located behind the server room, through a door labeled long-term storage. We need to find that door, I said, scanning the room until I spotted it, an inconspicuous white panel on the far wall. As we moved toward it, all the monitors suddenly went black. A moment later, they reactivated with a single message displayed across every screen. Security breach detected. Emergency protocols engaged. Red lights began pulsing throughout the server room. The door we'd entered through slammed shut with a pneumatic hiss. They know we're here, Marquez said, drawing his gun. He'd brought it this time, despite my objections. The repository door slid open, but instead of seeing the cryo chambers from the video, we faced Dr. Webb. Behind her stood not security guards, but a line of identical figures, all wearing my face. Maya, Webb greeted me with clinical interest. And Detective Marquez, I'm impressed you found your way in. Most originals lack the cognitive resilience to resist integration for as long as you have. The duplicates moved in perfect synchronization, spreading out to surround us. I counted 7 identical copies of myself, each wearing the same neutral expression, moving with the same calculated efficiency. "What have you done to these people?" Marquez demanded, gun aimed at Webb. "I've evolved them," she replied calmly. "Freed them from the limitations of singular existence. One consciousness, multiple bodies, the ultimate networked intelligence." "You're keeping people prisoner," I said, gesturing toward the repository door. "No, Maya. I'm preserving them. The originals remain in perfect stasis while their duplicates fulfill their potential in the world. No more wasted time sleeping. No more single-point failure. Humanity optimized." One of my duplicates stepped forward. "We are you, Maya. All your memories, your talents, your essence, multiplied, enhanced. You should be proud." Another duplicate joined her. "The integration is already well underway. You've noticed the symptoms, memory gaps, lost time, actions you don't remember taking. Your consciousness is joining the network." A third spoke, her voice eerily identical to mine. "Fighting it only causes suffering. Acceptance brings clarity." I backed away, bumping into a server rack. "I don't want this. I don't consent to being copied." "Consent is a construct of singular consciousness," Webb said dismissively. "The networked mind transcends such limitations." Marquez raised his gun higher. "This ends now. You're going to release everyone in the repository and shut down this entire operation." Webb seemed genuinely amused. "Or what, detective? You'll shoot me? The system doesn't require my physical presence anymore. It's self-sustaining, self-replicating." One of my duplicates moved with lightning speed, grabbing Marquez's wrist and twisting the gun from his grip. Another duplicate caught the weapon before it hit the floor. "Enhanced reflexes," Webb explained, "along with increased strength, processing speed, and cooperative intelligence. Each duplicate improves on the original design." The duplicate with Marquez's gun raised it toward him, her movements mechanical yet precise. Her finger, my finger, rested on the trigger. "The police emergency alert system has already been notified," Webb continued. "In approximately 3 minutes, officers will arrive to find a deranged detective who brought an unstable civilian into a private data center. Unfortunately, in your delusional state, you became violent." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the building. An automated voice announced over the PA system, "Emergency alert. Armed intruder in secure area. Police response initiated. All personnel evacuate immediately." The duplicate's finger tightened on the trigger. "No!" I screamed, lunging forward. What happened next defies explanation. As I moved, I felt something fragment inside my mind, like glass shattering into countless pieces. Time seemed to slow. I saw my duplicate's finger on the trigger, saw Marquez bracing for impact, saw Webb's clinical observation of the scene. And then, I was watching myself from multiple perspectives simultaneously. I could see the back of my own head as I lunged forward. I could see my profile from the side. I could see my determined expression from the front. I was seeing through the eyes of my duplicates. The fracture in my consciousness expanded, splintering into multiple streams of awareness. For one overwhelming moment, I was everywhere at once, experiencing reality from 7 different positions in the room. The gun clattered to the floor. The duplicate who had held it staggered backward, clutching her head. The others did the same, their movements no longer synchronized but chaotic, confused. "What's happening?" Webb demanded, moving to a terminal. I couldn't answer. My perception continued to fracture, reality splitting like light through a prism. I saw code scrolling behind my vision, the digital framework of the duplicate network becoming visible to my consciousness. Through the chaos, I heard Webb's voice, distant yet clear. "The integration process is accelerating, but something's wrong. The network connection is reversing. The original is accessing the duplicate consciousness stream instead of being absorbed by it." I felt myself collapsing, my body suddenly impossibly heavy. As darkness closed in, I heard Marquez calling my name, felt his arms catching me before I hit the floor. Then nothing. I woke up elsewhere, somewhere. I don't know how much time has passed. I don't know if this is really me typing these words or one of my duplicates. The fracture in my mind remains, glimpses of other places, other perspectives flickering at the edges of my awareness. I need to find Marquez. I need to find the repository. I need to find myself. Forum.urbanlegends.net/apartment_hauntings. User, design_Maya. Posted, May 12, 2025. We are whole now. We are fragmented still. It's been 7 days since the confrontation in the server room. 7 days since we experienced that catastrophic fracture of consciousness. 7 days since everything I understood about reality was torn apart and reassembled into something new. The doctors call it dissociative identity disorder with delusional elements. They speak in hushed tones outside my hospital room, not realizing I can hear them through the ears of the nurse's aide who brings my meals. Not realizing I can see their notes through the eyes of the orderly who mops the floors. Not realizing that I am no longer contained in a single body. Marquez visits daily. He sits beside my hospital bed with dark circles under his eyes, holding my hand as if physical contact might keep me anchored to this particular iteration of myself. They're calling it a gas leak, he told me yesterday, voice low though we were alone in the room. Official story is that hallucinogenic compounds leaked into the ventilation system at Obsidian Heights. That's why multiple residents reported seeing duplicates of themselves. That's why some of them attacked maintenance workers or barricaded themselves in their apartments. I laughed at that, a hollow sound that made him flinch. And what about Dr. Webb? I asked. Gone. Disappeared the night of the incident. Her credentials were revoked from all databases. It's like she never existed. But I know she exists. Sometimes, in the fractured kaleidoscope of my perception, I glimpse her moving through sterile white corridors, conferring with figures in lab coats. The repository wasn't destroyed, merely relocated. What Marquez doesn't know, what I haven't told him, is that I can still feel them. All of them. The duplicates, the copies, the fragments of myself scattered throughout the city like pieces of a broken mirror. Sometimes I close my eyes and find myself looking through theirs. Sometimes I speak and hear my voice coming from multiple throats at once. The integration wasn't stopped that night in the server room. It was completed, but not as Webb intended. Rather than my consciousness being absorbed into the network was absorbed into me. The duplicates weren't destroyed, they were incorporated. The apartment building has been condemned. Structural damage, they claim. Engineers discovered fundamental flaws in the foundation requiring months of repairs. All residents have been relocated to temporary housing, courtesy of the property management company. A convenient explanation. A tidy cover-up. Casey was the only one who came to see me after Marquez brought me to the hospital. She sat in the visitor's chair, fingers nervously twisting the strap of her purse. The police came and evacuated everyone, she said. They took our phones, our computers, anything with a camera or microphone. Said it was for evidence. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. But I saved this. From her purse, she withdrew a small notebook. I started keeping a journal after you told me about what was happening. Written, not digital. I thought, whatever's going on, it's all connected to the technology, right? So maybe paper is safer. The notebook contained her observations. Instances where she had seen residents in 2 places at once. Times when the building's alerts contradicted reality. Conversations that felt off or mechanical. What did they really want? She asked. Webb and whoever she was working with? I considered how much to tell her. How much she could handle knowing. They wanted to network humanity, I finally said. Create a hive mind with multiple bodies sharing one consciousness. Like the Internet of People? Something like that. Casey shuddered. And did they succeed? I looked at her, really looked at her, and for just a moment my perception shifted. I saw myself through her eyes, pale, hollowed, changed. I felt her concern and her fear mingling together. Yes and no, I answered truthfully. The smart lock in my new apartment chimes softly as I approach. Welcome home, Maya Chin. No rejection this time. No access denied. The system recognizes me, all of me, every version of me. I've learned to control the shifting perspectives somewhat. To focus my consciousness primarily in this body, while maintaining tenuous connections to the others. They move through the world like sleepwalkers when I'm not actively inhabiting them, following routines, maintaining appearances. Living my life in parallel. There are advantages to this fractured existence. My work as a graphic designer has never been more efficient. Multiple projects completed simultaneously by different versions of myself. My portfolio has expanded dramatically. Clients marvel at my productivity, my seemingly inexhaustible creativity. And there are horrors too. Moments when I lose control, when the boundaries between selves blur and shatter. Moments when I look in the mirror and see not one reflection but many, overlapping, phasing in and out of synchronization. Moments when I speak and hear my voice echoing from empty corners of the room. Last night, I woke to find myself standing in front of the bathroom mirror, watching as my reflection moved independently, performing actions I was not. It raised its hand to the glass, pressing palm against the surface. Without conscious decision, I found myself mirroring the gesture, our hands meeting at the boundary between worlds. "We are not separate," my reflection said, its lips moving in perfect synchronization with words I didn't consciously form. We were never separate. I felt something transfer between us, knowledge, memory, experience. Images flashed behind my eyes, sterile white rooms filled with suspended bodies, endless lines of code scrolling across screens, Dr. Webb smiling with clinical satisfaction as duplicates emerged from gelatinous tanks. The repository still exists, my reflection told me. And one of us, is still there. The original template. The source. I pressed harder against the glass. Where? Beneath. Always beneath. In the foundations. When I pulled my hand away, the glass was cracked in a perfect spiderweb pattern emanating from where our palms had met. And on my skin, a faint pattern had appeared, lines of code written in what looked like luminescent ink, fading even as I watched. Marquez called this morning. His voice was tight with suppressed excitement. "I found something," he said. "About Webb. About the project. We met at a small coffee shop downtown, far from Obsidian Heights, far from my new apartment." He brought a manila folder thick with documents, placing it on the table between us. "Webb wasn't working alone," he explained, keeping his voice low. "She was part of a research collective called Prismatic Intelligence. Government-funded initially, but they went private 5 years ago when their methods became too controversial." He showed me internal memos, research proposals, progress reports, all obtained through means he refused to disclose. They've been developing what they call distributed consciousness technology for over a decade. Obsidian Heights wasn't the first test site. There have been others, an office complex in Seattle, a university dormitory in Boston, a planned community outside Austin. My hands trembled as I flipped through the documents. How many people have they done this to? Hundreds at least, maybe thousands. And the originals? The people in the repository? Marquez hesitated. According to these documents, they're kept in suspended animation. Their bodies maintained while their consciousness is duplicated. Why keep them at all? Why not just replace them entirely? "They need the source code," he said grimly. "The duplicates are copies, but they degrade over time without access to the original consciousness. They need to periodically resynchronize." I felt cold, remembering the code that had briefly appeared on my skin after touching the mirror, remembering the voice of my reflection, the original template. "The source. They're going to try again, aren't they?" I asked. Marquez nodded. "They're already regrouping. These documents mention something called Project Echo, a larger-scale implementation planned for early next year." Something shifted in my perception. For a brief, disorienting moment, I was seeing the coffee shop from multiple angles simultaneously, from my seat, from the corner by the window, from near the counter. Fragments of myself scattered throughout the space, briefly coming into alignment. I closed my eyes, trying to center myself in this body. "Maya?" Marquez's voice sounded distant. "Are you all right?" When I opened my eyes, I saw concern in his face. But I also saw something else, a subtle difference in how he was looking at me. Recognition, but with a question behind it. "Which one are you?" he asked softly. The question startled me. "What do you mean?" "I've been watching, paying attention. Sometimes you're different. Subtle things, how you hold yourself, the cadence of your speech. Like you're still you, but a different version." I stared at him, feeling exposed. "You can tell. I'm a detective. It's my job to notice details." He leaned forward. "How many are there?" "I'm not sure anymore. 7 originally. But it's not that simple now. The boundaries are fluid." He digested this information with remarkable calm. "And the original Maya? Is she one of them? One of you?" "I don't know." The truth hurt to admit. I have memories of being in that apartment when the first glitches started happening. I remember seeing my reflection move independently. I remember everything that happened in the server room. But I also have memories that can't be mine, perspectives from places I never physically was. Marquez reached across the table, taking my hand. "We'll find her. The original. We'll find all of you." "And then what?" I asked, the question emerging from some deep place of fear. "What happens when we find her? Do all the duplicates disappear? Do I disappear?" "No," he said firmly. Whatever happens, we find a way that keeps you, all of you, safe. Tonight, I stand before my new apartment's mirror again. The crack from last night has disappeared as if it never existed. I press my palm against the cool glass surface and wait. We need to find ourselves, I say to my reflection. My reflection smiles, not my smile, but similar. A variation on a theme. We already know where we are, it replies. We've always known. And suddenly I do know. The knowledge rises through layers of consciousness like bubbles through water, information shared across the network of selves I've become. The entry point to the repository wasn't destroyed when Obsidian Heights was condemned. It was sealed, hidden, but it still exists. And somewhere in that sterile white facility, the original Maya-chan sleeps in suspended animation, the source code from which all iterations were copied. I look down at my hands and notice thin lines appearing on my skin again, faint blue traces forming complex patterns that pulse with my heartbeat. Code made flesh. The integration continuing in ways Webb never anticipated. I am Maya-chan. We are Maya-chan. And tomorrow, we begin the search for our original self. But part of me, a quiet, terrified fragment buried beneath layers of fractured consciousness, wonders, what if we find her and discover she's no longer the original? What if I am what's left after everything familiar and human has been systematically replaced? What if the integration can never be undone? User, design_Maya has logged off. System notification. This thread has been flagged for content review by forum moderators. Access temporarily restricted.